Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are separated by only 22 points in the Formula One Motorists Championship, with the British motorists gaining ground in the last two races. Last weekend, both made contact during the opening lap of the Singapore Grand Prix, reigniting discussions about favoritism within McLaren and motorist reactions to on-track incidents. The 2009 Formula One champion Jenson Button commented on the incident, arguing that it should not have generated such controversy. His perspective as a former championship winner provides valuable insight into how elite competitors should handle internal team conflicts and racing incidents. Piastri started the race in third position but found himself behind Norris, who had started fifth on the grid. The position reversal during the opening stages created the competitive dynamic that led to their controversial contact. When the British motorist launched his attack, he chose the outside line and made contact with his teammate during the overtaking maneuver. This racing incident resulted in Piastri losing position and immediately complaining to his team over the radio, expressing frustration with what he perceived as unfair racing conduct. Button provided a measured analysis of the incident, emphasizing that racing contact often results from track conditions rather than malicious intent. It's just racing. They're running side by side. Lando makes a little contact with Max's Red Bull rear and loses a bit of control. That shows how slippery the track is. He wasn't trying to push Oscar into the wall, Button told Sky Sports. The former McLaren and Brawn motorists' assessment focused on the unintentional nature of the contact rather than attributing deliberate, aggressive intent to Norris. His technical analysis highlighted how challenging track conditions contributed to the incident. He wasn't driving toward the wall, hoping Oscar would hit the wall or crash. He was in the middle of the turn and simply slipped. Button continued providing technical context that supported his view of the incident as accidental racing contact. This explanation demonstrates how experienced motorists recognize the difference between deliberate aggressive moves and racing incidents caused by car control challenges. Button's championship experience provides credibility for distinguishing between intentional and circumstantial contact. Button suggested that Piastri should have demonstrated a more mature approach rather than his emotional reaction to the racing incident. His criticism focused on the championship leader's public response rather than questioning his competitive instincts or racing ability. If I were Oscar, I would say, "My teammate beat me, that's it. There's no need to create unnecessary tension," Button stated, advocating for a more diplomatic approach to internal team competition. The former champion's advice reflects understanding of how championship contenders should manage teammate relationships while maintaining competitive intensity. His perspective emphasizes professionalism over emotional responses to racing disappointments. Button's criticism highlights the delicate balance championship leaders must maintain between competitive drive and team harmony. Elite motorists face pressure to win while preserving organizational relationships that support long-term success. The Singapore incident occurred during a crucial championship phase where every point carries significant weight for both McLaren motorists. The tight points gap between Piastri and Norris intensifies competitive tensions that might normally remain manageable. Piastri's emotional radio response reflected genuine frustration with losing position to his teammate through what he perceived as questionable racing conduct. His immediate reaction demonstrated the intensity of championship battles where marginal decisions carry substantial consequences. The championship leader's reaction also indicated how internal team competition can create pressure that affects professional relationships. Managing teammate dynamics becomes increasingly challenging as championship stakes rise throughout the season. Button's emphasis on the incident being just racing reflects a generational perspective where physical contact was more commonly accepted as part of competitive motorsport. Modern Formula One's emphasis on safety and regulations may have changed expectations about acceptable racing conduct. The former champion's technical analysis about track conditions provides important context for understanding why the contact occurred. Singapore's demanding street circuit characteristics create challenging conditions where car control becomes particularly difficult. McLaren's handling of the incident demonstrated their commitment to allowing both motorists to race freely rather than imposing team orders that might favor one championship contender over another. This approach reflects their confidence in both motorists' professionalism. The 22-point championship gap between the McLaren teammates creates natural competitive tension that influences their approach to internal battles. Neither motorist can afford to concede positions easily given the tight championship mathematics. Button's advice about accepting teammate defeats gracefully reflects the political realities of Formula One, where internal harmony often proves as important as on-track performance for sustained success. The incident highlighted how modern Formula One motorists face unprecedented scrutiny of their emotional responses through radio communications and post-race interviews. Every reaction becomes subject to analysis and criticism from media and former competitors. Piastri's position as championship leader creates additional pressure to maintain composure under challenging circumstances. His emotional response may reflect the stress of defending his points advantage against multiple competitors, including his own teammate. The Singapore contact represents typical racing incidents that occur when competitive motorists fight for position on challenging circuits. The controversy arose from the internal team dynamics rather than the racing contact itself. Button's championship experience provides valuable perspective on managing competitive disappointments while maintaining team relationships. His ability to balance competitive drive with diplomatic professionalism contributed to his career success. The criticism of Piastri's reaction suggests that championship leaders face different behavioral expectations compared to other competitors. Elite motorists must demonstrate maturity that extends beyond pure racing performance. McLaren's approach to managing internal competition will influence their ability to maintain team harmony while allowing both motorists to pursue championship objectives. Their balance between competition and cooperation affects long-term organizational success. The Singapore incident may influence how both McLaren motorists approach future internal battles, potentially creating more cautious racing that could benefit external championship competitors. Button's perspective represents traditional Formula One values where racing incidents were accepted as inevitable parts of competitive motorsport. Modern sensitivity to contact may reflect changed safety priorities and regulatory emphasis. Do you agree with Jenson Button that Oscar Piastri overreacted to the Singapore contact with Lando Norris, or do you think the championship leader was justified in expressing frustration with his teammates' racing conduct? Subscribe for exclusive Formula One analysis and insights into the complex dynamics of internal team competition at the highest levels of motorsport.